My name is Brandy, and I am just a simple individual who wants to enjoy the life that I have. One of my biggest goals as a child was to go to college and make sure that I could get a job and make something of my life. And as an individual with a disability, sometimes you might tell yourself that you can't do certain things, or other people might tell you you can't do certain things. So tried to put in more effort to make sure that I could go to college and do all the things that everyone else does that sometimes individuals with disabilities aren't seen as able to do those or accomplish those things. And so I've been able to accomplish a lot of the things that I hoped that I'd be able to accomplish one day. Going to college, getting married, having a family, all those kind of things that sometimes people might see as just a normal thing that might be a little more difficult for someone like me to obtain. But I was able to accomplish a lot of things that I wanted to be able to accomplish. Education matters a lot to me because as an individual with a disability, I can't do all the jobs out there. With my level of injury, it's going to be really difficult for me to do any job, entry level jobs, all those kind of jobs that are available to everyone. I can't do all those jobs. I'm limited into the jobs that I can do. So education became really important to me at a younger age because I knew I needed to get a good education so that I could get a good job and be able to be successful. I was injured when I was 10 years old in a car wreck. Um, and so what I wanted for myself as a young kid, it kind of changes when you become someone who has a disability. So I have to think a little bit differently of all the yeah, I can't always do everything I would want to do before injury. I couldn't necessarily do. So then I have to think about what can I do now. My life did change because I was no longer able to do all the things that young kids want to do. Um, I had a lot of friends that I no longer had. Um, and then I couldn't go skating anymore. I couldn't go to the playground and get on the swings or the monkey bars. Um, and then because you can't do all those things, then it's a lot harder to form friendships with those individuals that you used to do those things with. Um, and then even growing up, it's when you're 16, it's really exciting. You want to get your license, you want to be able to drive, and then all those things are just so much harder to do when you have a disability because you need so much more, um, equipment or so much more accessibility issues come up. Simply going over to your friend's house is more difficult because maybe you can't even get into their house any longer. Um, or you can't just jump into any car. You have to have your own vehicle so that you can get, to point A to point B. So it really makes it difficult to form friendships and to, go and play like you used to do. There's lots of times when there's space that says they're accessible and it's not truly accessible and it makes it really difficult to navigate. Even you think of a bathroom and it's accessible, it has grab bars in there, but oftentimes I go into a bathroom, I can't even get far enough in it to close the door. um, or you need a space to be able to transfer, but there's no space beside the commode that allows you to transfer onto it. So sure, I can get into the bathroom, but can I use it successfully on my own? Maybe not. Or if you can't turn around, you can't even flush the toilet. A lot of things that um, you may not think about until you're in that situation. Um, I would say that's my mom said too that when I first became injured, she never realized how many places weren't accessible and how many places that we couldn't get into. So it can make it a little difficult, especially when someone, I say we rented a vacation home and they're like, yes, we're accessible. But when we got there, like there's some rooms that I couldn't even get through the door because you don't think about how wide the door is, or there's a little bump up. But they don't think about, there being a little bump up being a significant inconvenience. You don't know, like, how tall is the bed in the hotel going to be? Am I going to be able to get in and out of it? So really, I really am limited to having help if I travel anywhere, because you never know what it's going to be like, or what obstacles I might face along the way. A lot of times, they like Airbnbs and things like that are not really accessible, but it will work. And sometimes you have to make it just work, but it makes it inconvenience. It makes it harder. It makes it harder on me. It makes it harder on my husband, who needs to help me more, because I can't do everything, because of the lack of accessibility features. There's a lot of different tools that you can use in order to make life a little bit easier, and it can be really simple things that individuals may not even think about. And sometimes I think about my favorite gift that my husband gave me, and it was this simple beverage opener that helps grip the top of a bottle and it makes it easy to open. And I got that when I was in college from him, and I thought, wow, this is like such an amazing tool that allows me just to open a soda. So it sounds kind of silly, but it's little simple things that kind of help. And so over the years, there's so many different. I remember when I was first injured, I had a really hard time even gripping spoons. So there's just making this spoon, a little thing you can put on the end of the spoon to make it, I guess, a little fatter so you can hold it easier. Or this thing called a zip it that you put on your zipper that just allows you to zip your pants. And then a button it that allows you to button your pants. So a lot of different just little tools that makes life, these little things you don't think about that, because of my lack of dexterity, makes it really hard for me to do little simple things, getting dressed or opening bottles or jars. So there's all these different tools that make things easier. There's a lot more today than there was back when I was first injured. One memory that sticks with me about learning to take care of myself was when I got a little bit older and I wanted to be able to just get into the bed by myself, which can be a little challenging. And so I didn't want to have to depend on my mom to come and help me get into bed. And I wanted to have that independence to go to bed when I wanted to. And so I think my goal was to figure out, how can I do this? What can I do to accomplish this? And it was a simple thing as just making my bed the same height as my wheelchair. So what we did is cut the legs off the bed, basically, to make the bed not as tall, which gave me the freedom just to be able to get into the bed by myself. And that was just like this huge accomplishment for me, just to further increase my independence, and my ability to do what I want, really, when I want to. So having the adaptive equipment that you need, it really helps give you the independence that you want, or every individual should have, to be able to live your life like everyone else in the world. So now I can get up and I can get dressed, and I have adaptive equipment on a vehicle, and that allows me to drive wherever I need to go. And really, that gives you all the independence that you need to go in the community and be a part of the community like everyone else. I remember when I first was able to drive my vehicle by myself, and just being able to get in the vehicle and go where I want to go whenever I want to, it just gave me the freedom and the independence that for most of my life, I lost and didn't have. So I would say the best phase of my life was when I went to college. And I say that because it gave me more freedom. It was the first time I lived on my own in a dorm. Um, and I was able to, get up when I wanted to, go to classes, um, and make friends, which I didn't really make a lot of friends, but it's not. I'm not good at making friends. I'm a little bit shy, but I think that was the first time I really had the freedom to be like everyone else because I could also focus on my education. It was also the time when I met my husband, um, and and that kind of changed my life a lot as well. I think I just gained so much independence during that time that I was lacking living with my mom, who would, always be willing to do everything for me. And then at this point, I'm kind of in college at that point. At that point, I'm on my own and I'm able to learn everything that I can do and learn that I can do way more than I've done for myself. It gave me freedom that I needed to just gain more independence and learn who I was and feel more like, I guess, an adult than a child. Because when you have a disability, a lot of people, um, I guess, treat you as if you're younger than you really are. So it can be, a great opportunity just to feel older, I guess. And I remember this one time I was at a family reunion, actually, and my aunt was standing next to me. And this lady came up and she looked at me and then she looked at my aunt and she said, "Oh, how old is she?" At this time, I was a 24-year-old student in college. So I just kind of laughed on the inside and then looked at her and said, "Are you talking about me? I'm 24." Um, but it was just a very eye-opening moment to see that how some people look at me. I'm this 24-year-old college student, and I had this lady treating me like I was a 2-year-old who she was super, how cute is she? How old is she? As if I couldn't speak for myself. And I laughed it off. And but it is kind of a sad that you would look at someone and speak to them as if they're this child when they could speak for themselves. The fact that she didn't even address me is like she's discounting that I'm a person as well. Um, my aunt wouldn't even know my age. So, like, why are you asking someone else? Why don't you ask me? And even if was unable to answer for myself, you could still ask me. And what's important, to get the message out there to people that individuals with disabilities are people. And when you're speaking to them or about them, you can speak directly to them. Maybe they can answer, maybe they can't, but give them that opportunity is what's important. My career goal was I wanted to help other people. Hopefully other people who are in similar situations as me. And I didn't know what path to take to get there. Because of my disability, I didn't know what I could do. So I'm trying to think of what jobs I can do. And I'm doing this on my own and trying to figure it out. And so psychology was that route I took. So I got my undergraduate in psychology. And then after I got that, like, oh, well, what am I going to do with this degree now? And it was really hard to get a job with that degree because typically you keep going to school. So and I was exploring what I wanted to do after that. And I ended up I ended up getting my master's degree in rehabilitation counseling. With that job being a focus of working with individuals with disabilities to help them get employment. So that is what I did. I got my master's in rehabilitation counseling and ended up getting a job working in Mississippi as a rehabilitation counselor, where my job was to help other people with disabilities get employment or maintain employment. So we would help them with different things, where it would be helping them with education, helping them with different equipment that they might need that would help them be successful on the job. And I worked there for about 4 years before I ended up not working for a couple years because I had my daughter. And then we moved here to Colorado, and my daughter was going to start kindergarten. So I'm like, okay, so I think it's time for me to start working again. So I started looking for employment. I'm trying to look for something that I could use my skills to help other people. Um, and so I saw this job ad, and in that job ad, it said that they were really encouraged people with disabilities to apply. And when I read that, I thought, hey, that sounds like something for me. So I did apply for that position. It was with the Center for People with Disabilities. They have an office here in Longmont, where I worked as an independent living advisor. And my entire job at that time was to help people with overcome barriers to living independently. And that might be a lot of different things. So and so my job was kind of taking my lived experience and helping other people and providing that peer support, because I could understand where they are and I've been there before. And so I was able to use my life experience as a positive thing rather than something negative, and to help other people so that they could live independently and be successful as well. So I've been working with the Center for People with Disabilities since then. I'm now the manager of the independent living program. And I really like it because I get to use my lived experience to help other people. When I moved here from Mississippi, the main way I met people in the community was through my daughter, through her playing with other kids, whether it be in our neighborhood or at a park, or finding a Facebook group and meeting other parents while the my daughter had a play date with their kids. So that was kind of the main way that I met people. Other would be like through work, meeting people through my work environment. It can be a little difficult to meet people, and I think that comes back to the accessibility issue that you might face with, because it can be hard to maintain friendships and relationships in the community, because you see like, oh, hey, I'm having this thing at my house. Everybody wants to come over or invite in there, and people get invited over, but I can't come there because their house isn't accessible. So I can drop my daughter off there, and I can let my daughter go play at certain places, or typically my husband will take her because he can knock on their door, and I can't even knock on their door. So it can be a little difficult to meet people. When my daughter was really young, I met a friend, and since my injury, I hadn't had a lot of people that I was like, oh, this is a real friend. But I met this friend of mine, and whenever our daughter were having play dates together, or we were going to go somewhere together, she always made sure that those places were accessible. And if they weren't, then okay, we're going to find somewhere else. Even as far as when she was looking for a new house to buy, she was looking with the intent of, can Brandy get in here? And I thought that was really awesome, because I was like, this person really considers me a friend. She's even thinking of how can I get in her house and come over and visit her. So I thought that that was really great of her to really think about me and consider me a friend enough that she wanted to make sure I was included. Because sometimes you don't get that. It's like, oh, well, we're going here. Can you come? And then if you can't, then well, but that's where we're going. Um, so it was really nice that to have someone to really think about me and consider me and want to include me. Mostly what I like to do is spend time with my family. So my husband and I like to spend a lot of our time playing video games at home. And there's games that I can't play because I can't use my left hand. So one time my husband modified this controller to make it where he could reprogram all the buttons so that they can be programmed in different places to make it easier for me to be able to play the game. So it's really, it just shows how much he cares about me. He wants to always make sure I'm included, even if it's in a small way, like always making sure that I can be there and I can enjoy the moment as well. So it was important to him to make sure I can also play those games with him and not just watch. So it's really nice. A lot of controllers and a lot of video games are way more accessible now. They let you like go into the settings and change all the buttons. So if there's a button over here on the left side of the controller, you can move it over to the right side. So a lot of those things makes it easier now compared to what it used to be. So it really makes it a lot easier to be able to, do what me and my husband love to do, play video games. One thing that makes me happy is seeing my daughter do all these fun, awesome things that I wish I got to do. So I want to make sure that I take her to do all the things that she would love and enjoy doing. And that really makes me happy to be able to see her do that. So I want to make sure that we have family time where me and my husband and my daughter, we go for walks and we like to, they ride their bikes and I'll follow behind them to town and we go to the park or we just hang at home and watch movies and play video games together. Just kind of spending that quality time with family is really what's important to me. And what I like to do is just my favorite thing would just to be relaxed at home and do nothing while we play video games and watch TV and just enjoy each other's company.